Hey cutie pies, I'm Lanikia and you are watching recap and review of season 1, episode 7, The Endgame. Scale of 1 to 10, this was like a 8.5 for me. Okay, so we see that Elena is still with Val and they're talking about what happened about Bigsby. And Val is like, you let him die in front of me. And she says, watch and see how well you sleep tonight. And then the lights go out. So when the lights go out, she's like, Elena, what are you doing? And Elena said, this is not me. And so Val talks to the director and he said, like, it's circuit out. And so they say, how many men do we have on staff? They only have 7 security men and everything. And so Val goes back into Elena, and Elena's like, I've never lied to you. This is not me. And this is going to be a real fast review, guys. And she's like, I've never lied to you. This is not me. I'm not doing this. But we can have a sleepover. I've always wanted to have a sleepover and everything like you Americans do. And Val was like, I don't have time to deal with this. So we then go to the prison and we see that there was a fire in the prison. So, and Owen is like, yeah, they're putting us all together in the cafeteria because that's the farthest place away from the fire. And Owen and Sergey talk, and Sergey says, it makes me wonder, Horik met a friend who's an arsonist, and now all of a sudden there's a fire. So he feels like this is a setup, which goes back to that when they tried to kill that Owen shouldn't have just tried to poison him. He should have let Sergey kill him like he wanted to. I'm sorry. I mean, it is what it is. Like, they're all criminals. So then we see that back at the compound, Fort Trotton, they're trying to figure out like what's going on, and they start realizing that they're under attack, and Elena says there's only one person who would be trying to come after me. So they're going around trying to find men, but the men are all being taken because this man in a picture is who they call Ghost. And they said Ghost is the responsible for the man in the picture who ended up dying. And they said he's taken out military and everything, and they can't get a hold of him because, I mean, obviously he's called Ghost for a reason. And Elena said, now if he after me, then we're gonna need some help. You need to let me go change clothes, and you need to get some weapons because we're gonna need some help if he's the one who's here. So the director goes down, and Louis and his fiance, remember the girl with the braids, and Louis, they're in the cells. And he goes down to make sure everything is all good with them. But Louis is looking, before he gets there, Louis sees the lights flash. And he said, oh, I think I know what we can do. Like when the light flashes, open up your cell and you should be able to escape. And the director comes down and he makes sure their cells are secure and everything. And they're like, what's going on? And he's like, nothing you need to worry about. And he goes back up. But they are able to open up their cells. And we see that Louis opens his, but his fiance isn't able to open hers. And just as he was about to help her, he's like, hold on, I hear something. And it's actually Ghost. Ghost is, and go here, Louis and Ghost attack each other. Only Ghost ends up injuring Louis more than he does Ghost. And so by then, his fiance is able to open up and she finds him. So they're walking in the hallways and they come up on the director, and he was like, what's going on? And he tells them he was attacked. She tells him he was attacked by Ghost, but he injured Ghost and everything. So they go back into the main part where Elena is being held. And Elena's like, what's going on? And they were like, it's Ghost. Louis fought him, but he got injured in the process. But he did hurt Ghost, but it was like he disappeared into thin air. And they're like, how is that possible? Or whatever. How is it possible that he was just able to disappear like that? And so then we see that Anthony is trying to reach Val because there was a message sent on the code that Elena is receiving, and it says little potato. And so they're like, okay, well, what does that mean? So they're running it in Russian, Ukraine. They're running it in all the different languages they can think of, but they can't come up with anything. So he's trying to reach Val, and her phone is going straight to voicemail. And he was like, Triton said he was in a meeting at 11 p.m. And he was like, 11 p.m. What is he doing in a meeting? And then the woman looks and she says all of the lights are turned off. So Anthony is like, I'm going out there. I gotta make a quick drive. So he's driving out there, and then the woman who's been assisting him calls him, and she says the lights are out for like 2 miles. She says, so if you go, you're probably gonna have to go on foot. And he's like, okay, thanks for that. And she says she ran it again, and she cannot find what little potato means. And so that's when they go back to. So then Anthony goes to look for Triton, and he sees that all the security men have been taken out, but he also sees that there's a secret passageway to get in. So he starts following that entryway. And so they work on Louis because Rial was a corpsman, and so he knows how to, doctor up on Louis and everything. Now, the fiance was getting on my nerves because she was like, I don't trust you with him. I'm like, girl, he is your only help. You can't help him. Like, you going to have to get what you can get. So, anyways, he's you found a medical kit, and he's able to, because Louis' lungs were collapsing, and he was able to get him to open up, and he have air. He can breathe. And so they were like, okay, what do we do now? And they said, and Val says, he tells Val, we need weapons. If this is Ghost, we need weapons. And he was like, this is where you have to get the weapons, but you need to take somebody with you. And he said, and I can't go because I need to watch him. And the fiance said, I'm not leaving him. So that leaves Elena. And Val didn't want to trust her. She said, but Elena said, listen, it does me no good to have you dead. Like, that is not my mission. So if I'm going to trust you, you can trust me. And so she goes with Val, and they go down and they find this, because they have to go to the basement, and they find this old records of, the floor plan for Fort Triton. So the new plan that they have is actually built within the old plan. So that's how the ghost is able to disappear through walls, because he's using the old floor plan to do it. And they were like, because Val had said earlier that Elena, where they're keeping Elena, is the safest place. But now it's not, because he has a direct way to come from above to them. The ghost does to gain entry into where Elena is. And so she was like, Val is like, we need to get back there now. Now they look through the weapons and they don't find nothing but like this bomb. It's like one of those old bombs that you have to click, and then when you do, it explodes. That's all they found that they can use. Now, while this is going on, Elena is telling Val a story about her friend Natalie, and how Elena had just had the baby, and she was really going through postpartum, and she was, she was having a tough time, and how Natalie, was really helping her out. But Sergey, because Sergey was off on business, and he kept postponing coming home. So Elena was having a hard time doing it on her own. So then Natalie, she keeps asking Elena, is Sergey coming and all that? But we find out, because Sergey is on the phone with Elena, and he tells her, Natalie is not checking out for who you say she is. So Sergey finally comes home, and Natalie is there at the kitchen table, and she tells him Elena and the baby are down sleeping. And Sergey says, oh, okay. So they sit down for tea, and they both pull guns at each other under the table. And she tells him, I have 10 men, so if I don't make it out of here, they're going to shoot up the apartment. And he says, I have 10 men too, so we're just going to see what it is. And Elena comes out with her gun, so they all have their guns drawn on each other. And Elena says, Sophia is sleeping, because that's the baby's name. She says, Sophia is sleeping, and y'all not going to be shooting up this apartment, waking her up, And so Natalie ends up leaving, and Elena says, oh, I had a weak moment. That'll never happen again. And Sergey said, it's okay. I should have been here for you, or whatever. Because Elena just really, she wanted them all there so she could kill them. And so then we find, so then they go back to, come back to the future, and we see that they're setting a trap for the ghost, because they said, we don't have any weapons to kill him or anything, so let's just set a trap. So they lift up a a one of the floor tiles. They lift it up and they set the little ticker, the bomb in there. So when he steps on it, it clicks, and then when he lifts his steps off of it, it explodes. And because they've been hearing him above them, but when the floor above them opens up and someone drops down, it's Anthony. It's not Ghost. And they tell Anthony, "Don't move, don't move, don't move." And he was like, "Oh my, what's going on?" And they were like, "It's a bum." And he was like, "Val, he's like, y'all get, help me." And they were like, "We're trying to." So Louis, he can't do anything, but he's telling them this is how you would stop the bomb from going off or whatever. And so they're trying to do it, but as they're trying to do it, Ghost is coming. So they're like, "Okay, we gotta hurry up and get this moving." So then when Ghost looks through, he sees Elena sitting down, and it looks like she's just chilling. And they've moved Louis, and the fiance and Anthony have went to another building. So we find that Anthony was able to get out in time. They were able to stop the bomb from going off on him and redo it for when the Ghost comes. So he drops down and he's talking to Elena, and then Val pulls out a gun, and then he pulls out a gun real fast, and he says, "Just because I like knives doesn't mean I won't use a gun." And so they telling him to drop it or whatever, and he's about to tell Val. He says, "You think you're doing something, but you don't know what she has planned." Or whatever. He says, "I have the highest authority, orders from the highest authority. You don't know what this woman has planned. She wants to," and as he's about to say or whatever, Elena lifts up off of because she was holding the bum in place. She lifts up, and her and Val duck behind the table. And he was like, "What are y'all doing?" He was like, "Yeah, nice trick." But when he steps on the floor, and when he lifts up, it does actually blow him out off, but it doesn't do anything really. I mean, it hurts him for a minute, but then he gets back up, and so Val is fighting him, and he says, "Oh, so I have to get through you to go to Elena." And she says, "Looks like it." So she and Elena end up fighting him, and they take him down. I'm believing they broke his neck, um, but they end up fighting him and taking him down and everything. And the FBI comes in, and they clear everything up. Now, mind you, that while this is going on, Anthony, when he was on the way to Fort Trotton, he kept trying to call Doak, and Doak would not answer his calls. Like, he would call him repeatedly over and over, but Doak couldn't answer his calls because he was with the chief of staff and getting all the praise and all the glory. Like, Doak is such a scumbag. He was getting, like, he's letting them think that he did everything, but y'all know that if he didn't really capture the two people, Elena's two what do they call first in command, she didn't really capture them because they wanted to be captured, because it was a way that they were able to get the guy out of the country. And then also they think that he saved all that gold, but he didn't, because the gold is in there melting because they had another bomb planned up in there. So, but they don't know that. And so Doak is just taking all the praise, even all the way up to the president. She says, "Yes, the president is looking into and seeing everything that you're doing," or whatever. So when the FBI and everyone comes in, they're like, Anthony's like, "I'm the one who called you," and everything. And so they're like, "Okay, Agent Turner, clear the room," and everything. And so Director Riel and Val are just like, "Dope, where were you? Anthony was calling you." And he's like asking them all these questions, like, if Elena, none of this would have happened if Elena wouldn't have been here. And he's asking them all these questions. And Riel says, on what authority are you to speak like this?" And he was like, I'm just asking questions, because he's feeling himself right now, because he feels like he has the president in his corner or whatever. So then we see that um, Anthony tells Val that we finally got who Little Potato is, and that's actually Elena's daughter. Is called, because he said we can't find out who Little Potato is, and she said run it in Portuguese, because that's the language that Elena speaks. She's that's Elena's mother's language. And they run it and they say little potato means daughter. It was like a nursery rhyme about her daughter, and they found out that the messages are coming from a farmland in New York. So they were like, oh, we found out, we know where Elena's daughter is being hidden. And so while that's going on, Owen and Sergey are in the prison, and they're like, okay, what are we gonna do? And then this one man, a fight breaks out because this man was like, they locked us in here, we're gonna die, we're gonna burn up, and a fight breaks out. So Horik tries to kill Sergey, but Owen gets in the way, and when Owen kicks Horik off of him, he bumps his head and he dies. And so now Owen has to go into solitary, and Sergey was like, this is not good. The plan goes off in 3 days, and this means Owen would not be part of that plan because he would be stuck in prison now because he's accidentally killed Sergey. And they're just like, oh. And so they take Owen to solitary confinement, and Sergey is taken back to his cell. Now the warden is on the phone with someone, and we find out that it's Natalie he's on the phone with, because Elena gave Natalie a ring, and the ring said, and when she gave it to her, she said it belonged to my mother. And Natalie had the ring on when she was talking to the warden. Now what they was talking about, because she told him, he said it was just a little dust up, everything's under control now. And he says, everything's under control now. She said, I have a temper, so make sure everything goes smoothly. He was like, yeah, the plan is going off. What the plan is, we don't know, but and he calls her Miss Bullock. And so we know that's who Elena and them have as an enemy. So now we're figuring this all out. But that was the Endgame, guys. I hope you enjoyed. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. And I will see you next week. And this time I'll drop it on Monday. It was a busy Monday. But I will see you next Monday for another episode of the Endgame.